What happens when animation stops caring about safety rules, morality filters, and broadcast standards? In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Japanese animators created work so violent, so disturbing, and so uncompromising that modern platforms would struggle to host them uncut. In this series, we explore 12 anime that shattered censorship forever and left scars animation has never fully healed. Number 12, Akira, 1988. Akira is not just an anime film. It is a controlled explosion that tore through global pop culture and redefined what animated violence could look like on screen. Released in 1988, this dystopian nightmare plunges viewers into Neo-Tokyo, a city rebuilt after annihilation and already rotting from within. The violence in Akira is not constant, but when it arrives, it is shocking, deliberate, and deeply unsettling. What makes Akira so dangerous by modern standards is not just blood or destruction, but scale. Bodies are crushed by psychic pressure. Limbs twist and rupture under forces the human form was never meant to contain. The climax unleashes imagery that borders on cosmic horror as flesh mutates, expands, and consumes itself in ways that are painful to watch even today. This is not stylized combat. It is bodily terror. Akira also refuses moral comfort. Teenagers wield godlike power without restraint. Authority collapses instantly. Military forces open fire on civilians. Children are experimented on and left mentally broken. The film presents violence as an inevitable consequence of unchecked power rather than heroic struggle. That philosophy alone would make modern censorship nervous. What truly breaks modern rules is Akira's patience. It allows scenes of suffering to linger. It shows panic in crowds, desperation in faces, and slow creeping dread instead of quick sanitized action beats. There is no attempt to protect the viewer from discomfort. Akira demands you sit with it. Today, Akira would face content warnings, age restrictions, and platform edits. In 1988, it was unleashed without apology. And once it escaped Japan, it changed global animation forever. Number 11, Fist of the North Star, 1984. Fist of the North Star is one of the most brutally honest depictions of violence ever broadcast to television. Debuting in 1984, this post-apocalypse martial arts epic did not suggest brutality. It celebrated it. Every episode delivered shattered bones, exploding bodies, and slow, deliberate executions presented as righteous justice. The violence here is graphic by any standard. Villains are struck and allowed to walk away before their bodies violently rupture from internal pressure. Heads burst, torsos collapse, eyes pop. Blood sprays across ruined desert landscapes without restraint. What makes this especially shocking is that it aired weekly as serialized entertainment. Kenshiro, the protagonist, is not a conflicted hero. He is a walking instrument of death. He announces to enemies that they are already dead, and the show makes good on that promise in the most literal way possible. Modern anime often cuts away at the moment of impact. Fist of the North Star never looks away. Beyond physical brutality, the series thrives on despair. Civilization has collapsed. Women are enslaved, children starve. Hope is rare, and violence is the default language of survival. This relentless tone would clash hard with today's standards for televised animation. What truly breaks censorship logic is repetition. Violence is not a shocking exception. It is the foundation. Episode after episode piles cruelty upon cruelty until the viewer becomes numb. That was the point. It forced audiences to confront how brutal survival becomes when society fails. In the modern era, this series would be heavily edited, delayed or removed entirely from mainstream platforms. In the 1980s, it defined a generation. Number 10, Genocyber, 1994. Genocyber is not violent. It is violence given form. Released in 1994, this original video animation series remains one of the most extreme animated works ever produced. It abandons restraint entirely and dares the viewer to keep watching. From its opening moments, Genocyber delivers relentless gore. Bodies are torn apart at close range. Civilians are slaughtered without warning. Children die screaming. Limbs are severed and organs exposed with horrifying clarity. There is no heroic framing and no mercy. What makes Genocyber especially disturbing is its emotional cruelty. Characters suffer long before they die. They are hunted, betrayed, and psychologically dismantled. Violence is not just physical, it is existential. The world of Genocyber is cruel by design and offers no safe ground. Unlike action-driven brutality, Genocyber leans into nihilism. The superweapon at its center exists only to destroy. There is no redemption arc and no moral lesson to soften the blow. Humanity is disposable. Innocence is temporary. Modern censorship would never allow this unfiltered presentation. Even adult horror animation today relies on implication. Genocyber shows everything. It lingers on carnage and forces the viewer to confront the consequences without escape. This series was controversial even in its own time. Today it would be nearly impossible to release without heavy cuts or outright bans. Genocyber stands as a reminder of an era when animation was willing to go too far and proud of it. Number 9. Wicked City, 1987. Wicked City is where ultra-violence, erotic horror, and moral decay collide without restraint. Released in 1987, this anime did not simply push boundaries, it erased them. Set in a shadow version of modern Tokyo, the film reveals a secret war between humans and demonic beings hiding in plain sight. Violence in Wicked City is sudden, invasive, and deeply personal. What makes this anime so incompatible with modern censorship is its combination of brutality and intimacy. Bodies are pierced, torn, and violated in grotesque ways. Violence is not clean or heroic. It is slimy, organic, and uncomfortable. Characters are killed mid-conversation without warning. Flesh mutates under pressure. Faces split apart. There is no emotional distance placed between the viewer and the act. Wicked City also refuses clear morality. Heroes are compromised. Authority figures lie. Survival requires sacrificing innocence. This moral ambiguity is paired with shocking imagery that modern platforms would flag instantly. Sexualized violence, body horror, and demonic transformation are presented openly and without apology. The pacing is relentless. There is no safe downtime. Even quiet moments feel threatening. The city itself feels hostile, as if violence is built into its architecture. This constant tension amplifies the impact of every brutal encounter. What truly broke the rules was presentation. Wicked City was animated with lush detail, smooth motion, and cinematic lighting. This made every disturbing moment feel disturbingly real. It was not low-budget shock. It was premium nightmare fuel. Number 8. Ninja Scroll, 1993. Ninja Scroll is often remembered as stylish action, but its violence is far more brutal than nostalgia admits. Released in 1993, this film delivered graphic combat that blended swordplay with cruelty and supernatural horror. Every fight is designed not just to thrill, but to shock. Limbs are severed on screen. Blood sprays across forests and villages. Characters are impaled, crushed, poisoned, and dissolved. Death is slow, painful, and often humiliating. Enemies taunt their victims before killing them. The film takes pleasure in showing the cost of every encounter. What makes Ninja Scroll unacceptable by modern censorship standards is how it treats its world. Women are assaulted. Villages are massacred. Bodies are used as tools and warnings. The violence is not hidden behind implication. It is central to the narrative and visually explicit. The antagonists are monsters both human and supernatural. They kill without hesitation and without reason. The hero survives not because he is pure, but because he is ruthless. That moral stance clashes heavily with modern expectations of animated protagonists. Another issue is tone. Ninja Scroll never apologizes. It does not pause to reflect or explain. Violence happens and the story moves forward, leaving bodies behind. This relentless forward motion prevents emotional distancing. Number 7. Violence. Jack, 1986. Violence. Jack is not entertainment, it is endurance. Released in 1986, this anime stands as one of the darkest, most brutal visions ever animated. Set in a collapsed post-disaster Japan, the story abandons hope almost immediately. The violence in Violence Jack is extreme and relentless. Rape, murder, torture, and mutilation are shown openly. Civilians are slaughtered. Gangs rule through fear and cruelty. Children are harmed. There is no restraint and no mercy. What makes this anime especially disturbing is its nihilism. There are no safe characters. Anyone can suffer at any moment. Violence is not used to build tension. It is the default state of existence. The world is broken beyond repair, and the anime makes sure you feel that hopelessness. Jack himself is not a traditional hero. He is a force. When he appears, violence escalates even further. Enemies are torn apart with bare hands. Blood soaks entire scenes. The animation lingers on destruction in ways that modern standards would never allow. Violence Jack also rejects narrative comfort. There are no uplifting arcs. Survival does not equal victory. Every episode leaves scars. This emotional brutality combined with graphic imagery makes it nearly impossible to distribute today. Even in its own era, Violence Jack was controversial. Today it would be instantly banned or buried. It remains one of the purest examples of anime that truly broke every rule. Number 6. Devilman OVA, 1987. Devilman is not violent in the traditional action sense. It is apocalyptic cruelty given spiritual form. Released as an original video animation beginning in 1987, this adaptation of Go Nagai's work delivered imagery so bleak and merciless that it still unsettles audiences decades later. The violence in Devilman is intimate and devastating. Human bodies are ripped apart by demonic forces that feel ancient and hateful. Friends turn into monsters and slaughter those they love. Limbs tear away from torsos. Faces twist in terror just before death. Blood is everywhere, but it is never stylized. It is heavy and tragic. What truly shatters modern censorship expectations is emotional violence. Devilman spends time building relationships only to destroy them brutally. Innocent people are massacred by mobs driven by fear. Children are murdered. Trust collapses. Humanity devours itself long before the demons finish the job. The series offers no safe moral center. The protagonist is cursed with power that saves no one. Violence does not lead to victory. It leads to despair. The final imagery is cosmic and hopeless, portraying annihilation on a scale rarely animated with such sincerity. Modern animation often softens apocalypse with spectacle. Devilman offers only grief. It lingers on suffering and refuses catharsis. There is no hero moment to relieve tension, only loss. Today, Devilman would be flagged for extreme content, psychological distress, and nihilistic themes. In the late 1980s, it was released raw and unfiltered. It remains one of the most emotionally destructive anime ever created. Number 5. Urotsukidoji, Legend of the Overfiend, 1989. Urotsukidoji is infamous for a reason. Released in 1989, this anime obliterated boundaries between horror violence and taboo. It did not test censorship limits. It ignored them entirely. The violence here is grotesque and overwhelming. Bodies are shredded by monstrous entities. Limbs are torn off casually. Humans are reduced to screaming prey. The scale of destruction grows rapidly from personal horror to citywide annihilation. What made Urotsukidoji especially dangerous was its explicitness. Nothing is implied. Everything is shown. Demonic transformations are slow, painful, and humiliating. Violence blends with violation in ways that made the anime banned or seized in multiple countries. Beyond gore, the story presents a worldview of corruption. Power exists only to dominate. Innocence is erased instantly. Authority figures are useless or complicit. The apocalypse is not sudden. It is earned through cruelty. Modern censorship frameworks would reject this outright. Even adult platforms would demand cuts so severe the story would collapse. In its time, Urotsukidoji circulated uncensored in underground markets and became a symbol of forbidden animation. It is uncomfortable to watch and impossible to forget. That was the point. Urotsukidoji exists as proof that anime once dared to show what no one else would. Number 4. MD Geist, 1986. MD Geist presents violence as efficiency. Released in 1986, this science fiction nightmare strips combat of heroism and replaces it with mechanical slaughter. The titular character is not a hero. He is a weapon. The violence in MD Geist is cold and excessive. Soldiers are gunned down in waves. Explosions tear bodies apart without ceremony. Enemies are dismembered or incinerated mid-movement. The animation emphasizes speed and impact, making death feel sudden and meaningless. What makes MD Geist censorship breaking is repetition. Violence is constant. There are no pauses for reflection. Entire armies are wiped out casually. The film treats mass death as background noise. Geist himself is terrifying because he enjoys the carnage. He laughs while killing. He toys with opponents. This sadistic tone would immediately raise red flags in modern content moderation. The world of MD Geist offers no moral counterweight. Governments exploit soldiers. Technology exists only to kill more efficiently. There is no redemption arc and no lesson beyond annihilation. In the modern era, MD Geist would likely be recut, softened, or recontextualized. In the 1980s, it was released as raw power fantasy violence without restraint. It remains one of the most merciless animated portrayals of warfare ever produced. Number 3. Guyver the Baoh Boosted Armor, 1989. Guyver looks like a superhero anime at first glance, but its violence places it firmly in censorship-breaking territory. Released in 1989, this series turns body horror into spectacle and refuses to soften its brutality. Transformation is not empowering. It is invasive, painful, and irreversible. The violence in Guyver is graphic and biological. Enemies are not simply defeated. They are torn apart at the cellular level. Heads explode, chests rupture. Limbs are severed with wet mechanical precision. Blood sprays freely, and the animation lingers long enough to make every kill uncomfortable. What truly disturbs modern standards is the focus on flesh. The Baoh-boosted armor fuses with the protagonist's body. Veins pulse. Organic weapons extend from skin. Pain is visible. The suit does not protect him from horror. It traps him inside it. The antagonists, known as zoonoids, undergo grotesque transformations that strip away humanity. Bones bend. Faces split. Organs emerge where they should not exist. These scenes are slow, deliberate, and cruel. There is no cutaway. Guyver also refuses moral simplicity. The hero is hunted, manipulated, and psychologically broken. Violence escalates because the system demands it. Innocent people die in experiments and cover-ups. Authority is monstrous. Modern superhero animation relies on restraint and spectacle. Guyver offers neither comfort nor restraint. It would face heavy censorship today, not because of isolated scenes, but because violence is built into its identity. Number 2. Angel Cop, 1989. Angel Cop is raw political rage wrapped in extreme violence. Released in 1989, this anime delivers graphic bloodshed alongside paranoia conspiracy and authoritarian collapse. It does not seek balance. It seeks provocation. The violence is sudden and relentless. Terrorists are executed brutally. Heads explode from gunfire. Bodies are riddled with bullets at close range. Torture scenes are shown without mercy. Blood coats walls, floors, and faces with disturbing realism. What pushes Angel Cop beyond modern acceptability is tone. It presents violence as necessity. Mercy is weakness. The protagonist enforces order through brutality, and the anime rarely questions that approach. That ideological framing alone would trigger censorship today. The series also dives into conspiracy-driven chaos. Government agencies manipulate and sacrifice civilians. Public trust collapses. Violence becomes a tool of control rather than justice. This bleak worldview paired with explicit gore makes Angel Cop deeply uncomfortable. Animation quality intensifies the impact. Close-ups linger on wounds. Death is not stylized. It is ugly, abrupt, and final. Victims do not fall gracefully. They collapse screaming. Modern platforms would demand edits, disclaimers, and context warnings. In the late 1980s, Angel Cop was released as is. It remains one of the most confrontational, politically charged violent anime ever produced. Number 1. Baoh the Visitor, 1989. Baoh the Visitor is compact, brutal, and merciless. Released in 1989, this short anime wastes no time delivering some of the most shocking violence of its era. It does not build slowly. It strikes immediately. The violence is explosive. Heads are torn off. Bodies are ripped apart by bioorganic weapons. Enemies die screaming in seconds. Blood sprays in thick, exaggerated arcs that feel intentionally excessive. What makes Baoh censorship breaking is efficiency. Violence is fast, close, and unavoidable. There is no narrative padding to soften the impact. The protagonist is a teenager turned living weapon hunted by assassins who die violently, one after another. The anime leans heavily into body horror. Parasites burst from flesh. Limbs detach under pressure. Pain is visible and constant. The transformation is not heroic. It is traumatic. Baoh also refuses emotional relief. The protagonist is frightened, confused, and isolated. Violence solves nothing. It only attracts more hunters. Innocent bystanders are caught in the carnage. Modern censorship would struggle with Baoh because it delivers extreme gore without long-form justification. It exists purely to shock and unsettle. In 1989, that audacity was celebrated. Baoh stands as the final proof that this era of anime had no fear of crossing lines and no interest in stepping back once crossed. These 12 anime were not mistakes. They were deliberate acts of rebellion. They proved animation could be brutal, disturbing, and uncompromising. In today's censorship-driven landscape, most would be altered, buried, or banned. That is exactly why they still matter.